Fans of the Horus Heresy and Warhammer 40,000, thank you very much for joining me for a model, build and a little bit of rules review of the Primaris Space Marine Intercessor Squad B from the Dark Imperium Warhammer 40,000 8th edition box set. After a bit of a hiatus of building these miniatures, I've come back and finished off assembling the Primaris Space Marine models that come with the Dark Imperium box set that I bought a few weeks ago. It's taken me a bit of time to finish these. I had what I'd call a little bit of plastic fatigue. In other words, I got tired of cleaning mold lines off these guys, so I went away and did something different. But I've come back to them and here's a final squad. So previously I've reviewed Intercessor Squad A, the Hellblaster Squad, the Heroes and the Inceptor Squad for the Primaris. Here we have Intercessor Squad B, the final part of the Imperial contingent from the box set. So what I'm going to do in this review is I'm going to talk about the models, the build and the quality, and then briefly talk about rules. The only brief bit I'm doing on the rules is to touch on the points values for this unit from Index Imperium 1, which I didn't have available when I did my review of Intercessor Squad A. So I'm not going to do a full tactics review again because these guys are exactly the same as Squad A. Also, I'm not going to do size comparisons in this video because they've already been covered off. So that is what I'm going to look at here. So Intercessor Squad B is made up of a sergeant and 4 Marines. So they are all identically armed and armoured. They're wearing Mark X armour, armed with bolt rifles, bolt pistols and grenades. Straightforward, nice and simple. So let's have a look at them. So firstly we have the Sergeant model. This is a really nice model, very dynamically posed, great facial details. Clearly he's given a little bit of inspirational leadership with his direction. I modified this a bit, as you can see, so it's a different pose to how it comes stock. And good attentions to detail on the part of the sculptor. So we've got the helmet attached to his waist, and this is something we've not always had on Space Marine heroes with no helmet on. It's good to know that Marines are always carrying their helmets because by goodness me they would need them. Got a holstered pistol and a few other bits and pieces, so this is probably a grenade pouch I imagine. And in terms of his detailing, everything is consistent with the previous Mark X armour models we've looked at. For the rest of the squad there are 2 other poses, so I'll show you these. Now as these are supplies, these are kind of, in effect, almost monopose models. So what I've done is I've slightly adjusted the arm positions and I've reposed the heads as well. In just the same way I've done on other miniatures from Dark Imperium, I cut the little orientation peg off to basically make a standard posable Marine helmet. And then I think I slightly adjusted the position on the bolt rifles between these 2. Yeah, you can see this guy's got his bolt rifle load a bit more than this guy. So yeah, so these are the first two, shall we say, Intercessor Marines, or almost riflemen. Got all the same details we've seen previously. Very nice looking models, very neat, good detailing. And now the second 2. So the second 2 guys, same sort of drill, exactly the same pose, and I've done a similar thing again. So on this guy's bolt rifle was, I think that's in the stock position. I repositioned his head. This guy, I lowered his bolt rifle by cutting some of the locator peg off here and here, and then just gently repositioning the arms and the wrist. So you can, there is actually a bit of give in these models. And then again, I've repositioned his helmet. I think you can really improve the look of your Intercessor Marines from this Dark Imperium box set by reposing the heads. Because I think a lot of the stock head poses, it's almost like they're trying to put their chins on their chests, which isn't a particularly natural position for a human to be in. Good miniatures, great poses. I think in general with this squad, Squad A, we're all in quite dynamic combat positions, either advancing, aiming their bolt rifles or moving. These guys are a little bit more standing around looking hard. I think what I will do when I come to actually paint this squad, and that's my next job, is to mix some of these dudes with the guys in Squad A just to freshen it up a bit and not just have all the same poses. I think mixing between the 2 squads will add variety. So that's one thing I'll do. So let's talk about the quality of Intercessor Squad B. So it was a mixed bag, this one. The Sergeant was very good. He came from sprue A, if I remember rightly, A or F. Basically, it was one of the 2 sprues that had very little mold lines on them, the same sprue that this squad came from, these guys came from, and the Sergeant from the Hellblaster Squad came from. That sprue had been QC'd, I think, to a higher level than sprues B, that these two guys came from, and there was a lot of mould line to remove on those. So that did take a while to do. I hope if Games Workshop go on to sell the Dark Imperium sprues separately, they do some further work refining the quality of sprue B, because I believe they can do it, and I think it would just elevate the quality of this set further, because the miniatures that come from sprue A and F are really, really good. You know, they're top notch, the usual sort of high quality that you expect, and also, you know, it's comparable to, say, the easy to build Primaris Reavers that were released separately recently. So in terms of the actual build, well, you can put them together exactly as they're supplied, and they're an absolute doddle to build. Very straightforward. I've spent more time working on these. Firstly, I've reposed the sergeant's arm. He was kind of, the stock poses, he has his bolt rifle raised up here, which I didn't feel quite as natural to me as to how I've put it, given how he's sort of directing and commanding. So yeah, I just reposed it, and for me, that feels more natural and just, I don't know, less forced. And it also, by getting the rifle out of his face, you know, you can see the detail around it, and this model is supposed to be heroic pose, and I think it helps you appreciate that from all angles. The other miniatures, again, I did some arm reposing, I reposed every single helmet, and I think that benefits for the squad, and particularly the helmet reposing, that's very easy to do. As I've done on all of my earlier Intercessor Marines armed with bolt rifles, I've bored out the muzzle brake and the barrel of the bolt rifle. I think that brings the detail out on these. These have got quite chunky barrels, so it works really well. You don't have to weaken the model by doing it. The muzzle brake and the bore are quite large, so they're not going to fill in with paint when you come to do that. So yeah, a big tick in the box. And I think, like the rest of the Primaris Marines in Dark Imperium, these are great looking models. They look really good. Clearly, if you were to buy lots of these, and now the £50 starter set's available, you'd have to deal with a lot more repetition of poses. So for me, these are a bit of a one-trick pony. You probably, you know, getting this one set is brilliant because everything can be different. However, if you're then going to buy multiples of these models, which might economically be a good idea, unless you don't mind everything looking the same, then you've got some work to do with the reposing to get the variety in. So something just to consider there. I think that's all there is really to say about the build on these miniatures. So just to finish up a little bit on tactics and points values for these guys. My reference for this is Index Imperium 1. The Space Marine Codex is out soon. I don't know if that interests me. A mate of mine is getting it. I just wanted this for all the points values. The Intercessor Squad is a troops choice with a power rating of 6. And for that, you get a sergeant and 4 intercessors. They're all identically armed with a bolt rifle, bolt pistol, frag grenades and crack grenades. There are no options. So they're very straightforward troops, very uncomplicated, and they're always going to be straightforward to use in their tactical role. And they are rifle infantry, straight and simple. And they're tough rifle troops as well. And with the high strength of the bolt rifles, clearly they can work against lightly armoured and even medium armoured targets at a pinch. Now, points values for these is worth noting because in Index Imperium, these have been adjusted compared to the base game, is 5 models per unit, and each model costs 20 points. There's no additional equipment costs on top of that. Each Intercessor Squad is 100 points. Nice, easy round numbers for planning a force. So that's everything I wanted to say about Intercessor Squad B from the Dark Imperium box set. As always, I'll be very interested to hear your views on these models. Have you done any work in terms of reposing them? And if so, what sort of approaches have you taken? Have you done anything particularly adventurous with converting these? But other than that, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.